Welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show, presented by Hugh Hattrick. Here at Bathurst in the Forest, my very special guest, Basic Ollie, Rascal, Rabbit, Josh Martin. It's great to have you back on the show. Drive fast and try not to crash. Hello and good evening, everyone, from all around the globe. You're watching the Car Sim and Race Driver Christmas Special, which is not particularly Christmassy. As you can see, I've hardly got even a piece of tinsel in the background. But it's not for the tinsel that I know you're going to watch. It is for our fantastic guests that we have here. We have Rory in the top right-hand corner, and we have Kireth Kart in the bottom right-hand corner. It's almost like
sound like a battle.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, ding, ding, you know. Welcome to the show, the two of you. It's fantastic to have you on the show. How are you all doing?
Oh, good, thanks, Hugh. Thanks for having us back, or having me back.
Oh, very welcome. Very, very welcome. And to Kireth, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Yeah, thanks again for having me on. I thought it was very interesting to have some kind of panel. Haven't seen anything like this ever before in the sim racing world, so it's very cool.
Yes, well, I thought it would be great to have a multi-stream event and to get all the things going. And welcome to everybody who's watching in the chat, whether you're lurking there or whether you've already given comments. Start getting your questions ready, because we'll be asking your questions to Rory and Kireth in a few minutes' time. And you never know, there may be a few surprise guests as well coming along. We've sent out the invites. Let's hope that they've bothered to check their Discords and they'll come in and check just in case. But we will get started. Now, you've just been doing FIA, because it's the finals. It's the last race, I think, of the year, isn't it? I'll start with Rory. How did you get on tonight, or are you not wanting to say?
No, it was fairly standard procedure, to be honest, Hugh. Didn't go fantastically. We were door number 15, qualified in 6th, made it to just before the chicane on the first lap. Got spun round down at the back, as happens, obviously. Then sort of a few laps later, trying to recover that situation, pushing a little bit too hard, forgot about the curb glitch at Catalonia onto the straight. So round I went again. And then actually, I think I spun for a third time, just of my own accord. I've got no excuse for that one. So not a fantastic FIA effort, but as I mentioned in previously, quite an apt way to finish 2020, the year we've had. Quite a good race, really.
And you'll be kind of binding at the bit to get going next year, isn't it? Because when you finish at that, you want to really prove yourself that you can get a good start for next year. When is the first race, by the way, next year?
I think it's still.
I think it just carries on.
January. It just carries on, is it? Oh well, that's not so bad. So how about you, Kireth? Because I know you were in a race with Ollie earlier on. You were saying earlier.
Yeah, it was a similar tale, unfortunately. So I think we streamed it today. So the first race was at 4. We started streaming at 3. Started out in the R8, couldn't get to work. Went into the 911, couldn't get to work. Then we decided to race in the Beetle. And I don't know how you felt the same today, Rory, but the starts were just absolutely mental because it was grid start. Lots of cars off the line, someone soft, someone mediums. And for the first 2 laps, it was just the whole pack was very close together, except half of the pack had about 6 seconds of penalties each. So yeah, it wasn't a good day. We actually did a race just before we went live, and we were in 6th place, but we got disconnected. So unfortunately, it would have been a decent result because it was a 300-point lobby. But if that disconnected is disconnected, then be a big 0. But yeah, maybe like Rory said, it's an apt way to end 2020 with the FIA.
It's been crazy, hasn't it? Because if it's not penalties, it's kind of just mad races and crashing. And you were saying earlier as well, there were some bugs on Catalonia too. So was it the back straight that you were saying that there was a skid kind of bug or something, and it made the back straight very skiddy, or the curb coming onto the back straight?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone will be able to tell me what in the chat, I'm sure, what exact corner it is. But coming onto the back straight, you go out onto the left-hand side, and I wasn't even all the way out, and I went in the barriers on the right-hand side. at the second fastest part of the circuit. Not fantastic, but yeah, as you say, just another thing to add to the Gran Turismo list of things that are a little bit frustrating at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I was playing the Daily Race A on Monday, and we were in the Toyotas, the old cars, and there was a bit with one of the curves where the cars were flying in the air. They're actually going, on the sausage curves, and they were really flying in the air. And I went over the curves, but it never happened to me as far as I could see. That was quite a thing to have that happen. But it was quite amusing, I have to say, to watch, because I thought maybe it was a glitch in the lobby or something like that, and we're all eventually going to get chucked out. But it seemed to work. That's been the case. So on to a slightly easier question, one that you can enjoy hopefully a bit more, is what have been the highlights of the last few months? Because I know you've been all racing hard. What have been your best results and most enjoyable moments of the last few months?
Oh, Kireth, you'll have to go first. I need to rack my brains for this one.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think.
How about your Lando Norris race? That would be a good one.
Oh yeah, racing. I guess that's a good point. I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to probably say a random race due to sport, but I guess when I look back at 2020 and think, what did I do when, we were literally lost into our homes and all sorts of tears and all this stuff. And then I think to look back and think, I actually raced a Formula One driver in a few races in F1 2020 and battled them. It's the kind of thing that 12-year-old me would have thought would never happen. Mm-hmm. So I think when the dust settles on kind of what a very strange year 2020 has been, it's like a lot of 2021 is going to be strange as well. But I think that will kind of stand out for me. So you answered my question for me, Hugh, but better than I would have done.
I've got a script here. A script you sent me earlier. That was fantastic. I mean, to race Lando Norris is something else, and he's done really well. I mean, in racing, I think he's well outperformed his car. Both think that Carlos and Lando did a terrific job this year, and Lando nearly got that win at Monza. He was charging right to the last minute before Gasly managed to do it in the end. So no, it's fantastic. And to think there you are behind the wheel of a sim rig and all of that, and normally racing in Gran Turismo, and before you know it, you've got a chance to race against these kind of people in other races, isn't it? It's kind of amazing. How about you, Rory? What's been your highlights over the last few months?
I don't think there's been too much in the last kind of few months, because I kind of peaked earlier in the year, to be honest. We had some really good stuff. As I kind of allude to quite a lot, my favourite stuff to do in all of sim racing is the endurance stuff we do on iRacing. It just, for me, you can't compete with that. Nothing else offers that. Certainly not Gran Turismo, unfortunately, yet. We'll see what happens with GT7 in 2024 or whenever it arrives. But it was earlier on, we did really well. So we actually won the 12 hours of Bathurst, which was, or Bathurst, or however you want to say it, which was probably the highlight of the year. We also got third in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, which was another, a massive thing. I mean, last year, we weren't even finishing these events, let alone, doing well in them. So it was very much a peak at the start. I think, touching on what Kireth was saying, I've raced a couple of people that I've really liked. So I raced Roman Grosjean actually in iRacing. Wasn't too bad actually. I was ahead of him till I binned it, believe it or not, which was quite good. And then also Lucas Ordnez when I was sort of around summertime where my DR was really quite high. I actually managed to have a quite good race with him actually at Suzuka with the Group 4 Siroccos, I think they were, or the front wheel drive. So pitting yourself against, probably even Lucas more than Roman, because he was the first ever GT Academy winner, wasn't he? So the inaugural, he was the Igor Fraga of yesteryear. So those were probably my highlights, I think, from on the track anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know that Andrew Marr says, but you're racing against Romain Grosjean, but it wasn't different Romain in terms of that one, because obviously Grosjean is in Formula 1, but I think he's done some sim racing as well.
It's him. him. Him.
It was actually,
yeah,
sorry, I didn't get the term.
He's got an esports team as well, I think.
Yeah. It was actually him. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Sorry, I misheard the surname of that.
It's interesting that for both of us, it's kind of it's who we raced is it's like a memorable watermark rather than in this race this happened, because you can't really remember a lot of time what happened in each race unless you're winning like massive endurance race like Rory. But it's like it's nice to kind of know who you raced, and even like racing like Rory and Basic Ollie in GT Sport it's a nice feeling. Win all these.
And I was watching you race on Sunday night there. I think it was Sunday night or Monday, and I think it was maybe Sunday night. And you were having a big battle with Super GT.
You're not going to be another one that says I took out Super GT in the last lap.
No, he hit the wall. Because I was watching his stream. I was actually watching his stream, and he just got the dash chicane slightly wrong, and he hit the wall. So you were, I'm not sure if I think he'd overtaken you possibly, and then he hit the wall, and then you got past him. So it was a fair, absolutely fair race.
There was one where he overtook me and he hit the wall dash chicane. But the last race of the evening, he was in a Greg's livery Viper and I was in the Frey Bentos TT. And I think we both knew it's going to be the last race. It's the corner going. It's a hairpin before dash chicane.
Oh yeah.
Kind of Sen City, and there was contact. But anyway, get past.
Oh, that's the thing. Well, now that we've done the easy questions, now I think it's time for our chat to have a go. So I'll quickly run up some of the comments because we've already had quite a lot of questions being asked. Now we've actually got Adama Banana. I know he's in quite a lot of the communities, and you're on there. It's a great name. He came third in his FIA race today. And I know you've been practicing for 11 hours. He told me the other day, that shows you if you put in that kind of practice, there's some good results coming there. But now here we are from Espen. It says here, great race on the Green Hill on iRacing today. How many hours are you expecting to put in to get from 2,000 points to 3,500 DR?
So he's talking. So hello, Espen, by the way. He's talking about the iRacing that I've sort of started. So basically, what I'm going to do is, because GT Sport, let's all be honest, it's kind of at the end of its life at the moment, and we're all, as content creators, hanging on for dear life for stuff to do on it. So what I'm trying to do is trying to bring a bit of variety and keep myself sort of engaged with it by doing it a little bit less. And over on iRacing, I'm basically sort of the equivalent of probably like a D-rated driver at the moment. And I like to, it's odd for me to be, at the highest level, not the highest, but, the highest rank at GT Sport. But then it just shows the level of competition on iRacing, because I'm literally a nobody on there. And I can't tie half of these people's shoelaces. So I really wanted to get up. So sort of a barometer. I don't know if you guys know a guy called Dave Cameron. He does a lot of iRacing stuff. So if you don't know him, check out his channel. He's kind of the benchmark for me. He will just creep into top splits sometimes, and he's at about 3,500 iRating. So I'm at just under 2. A good race may get you between 80 and 100 iRating. So, and you obviously have, with the damage model on iRacing, and the level of competition, etc. I reckon a good sort of 20 to 30 races, I think, and the races that I do are the 40 minutes upward ones. So a fair amount of time, I think. And that actually requires practice, because, they've got such a wide variety of tracks, that you don't see every day. I think one of them's at Twin Ring Motegi. Can't even say it. That's how little I know about it. So yeah, there'll be plenty of hours put into that one for sure.
That's the thing. And now here's a good question for you both. If each of you had to choose a track and car combination to beat the other in a race, what would it be? So if you're racing each other, you two, what do you think? What cars would you choose to try and have an advantage?
I think. Good. Do you want to go first, Kireth? You could probably answer for me as well. I think everyone could probably answer for me.
Well, I don't have to try and go for weaknesses or play to strengths. But I'll do it simple. Probably anything at Monza's. Probably Group 3 Monza is my go-to track. It's probably the track I know best in any game. So I'd have to go Group 3 Monza and just back myself.
Yeah, mine would be Group 2 Suzuka. Probably you probably knew that was coming.
I wasn't going to choose Group 2.
yeah, that would be me. Not on last time's performance, but previous form's been all right. So I'm hoping if we were to go 1-on-1, the pressure
was that a curb glitch as well? Because I think it was.
It must have been. Yeah, it must have been. It wasn't completely. It wasn't me getting the Degners wrong. It was the curb. It was the curb glitch at the Degners. That happened to be in the gravel on the outside.
Yes, we'll believe you.
Appreciate it though.
Now we've got a question here from one of our co-hosts. Now he's just starting out doing a bit of sim racing, and he's saying he's asking for a friend. So, given the choice of the Viper GTS or the Audi R8, which would they choose for good handling, and which for raw power? I presume that's GT3 or Group 3, I'd imagine, for that.
I am not the biggest fan of the Audi R8. If I'm honest, it feels like it's although it's an MR car, it feels like all the weight is literally in the middle and it just pirouettes around itself. So for me, I would go Viper in just all day for both because I can handle it. I think just the Audi I can't seem to get to grips with for me anyway. But that could just be the limitation of my talent. So it might, in the right hands, it might actually be quite good.
How about you, Rory? Sorry, Kireth.
I think it's kind of the same rationale, but the opposite for me. I can't drive the Viper, and usually I can drive the R8. Although sometimes the R8 on hard tires can be very, very tricky. But the R8, you can get a bit of oversteer when you're going around slow to medium speed corners. That can kind of get you a little bit of extra bonus rotation. You also get it in the Aston as well, the Vantage. So if you can kind of utilize that, you can sometimes get up the inside of people and keep the inside line and get to the next corner before them. So, well, I'd say it's an interesting comparison. It's probably very much a driver preference thing that.
Yeah, I don't need any more rotation with the R8. I don't need any more. Get plenty of that as it is.
Yeah, doing the chicane at Suzuka in the R8 on hard tyres can be very frustrating.
No thanks.
Now here's a good question for you, also from Adama Banana. Which car and track combination on GT Sport would you never want to touch with a barge pole? What your least favourite track and car combination?
Fuji Group 1 for me. I can't do last sector for Fuji. I can't do it.
Probably something. I don't know. Probably like Group 1 at Le Mans. I don't know what it is about Le Mans on Gran Turismo, but I'm not a great fan of it on Gran Turismo, but I love it on iRacing. I don't know why that is. I think everything, to be honest, that you like, anything that comes up in Daily Race A, I can't remember the last time I did a Daily Race A. I'm not. That's not for me. Like minis around Suzuka East is.
I love that. I just love it.
That's not for me.
It's because it's easy. Well, it's kind of relatively, for someone who's as unfit as I am, you can last about 5 minutes without getting into a sweat. So you can kind of, it works quite well, and it's a wee bit more argy-bargy in those ones. But although when they do like the Toyota, was it the Toyota? What's the one? The 86 GT, is it the 86?
Oh, yeah.
And they always choose Fuji, the long circuit at Fuji. And then they do it as a Daily Race C, and I mean, how long is that, and how dull is that? It's never. I think they work as a short race, but not as a long one.
Yeah, not for me. Not for me.
Yeah. So you want fast cars and good tracks. That's what makes it a bit more exciting, I think.
That's it. Yeah.
But I know someone was saying that would you ever fancy doing Tidney's races? When he does the VW camper vans at Le Mans, because they seem to be quite a laugh when they're all. The kind of hippie vans, they're all kind of liveried up. He seems to get quite a good laugh when he does that.
Probably not the camper ones. I do like his Fugu Frenzy. I do like that. That looks, because it looks like a fun one make event, and he seems to around, the tracks, the real world tracks that we know. So I'd like to see that. Maybe not so much the camper, although I've never actually driven the camper.
I think the camper it hits limiter at 82, and it doesn't matter if you're in a slipstream or not. So I'm not sure how. I haven't seen those races with the Samba bus, but I'm not sure how it works because you're just driving as like a pack, like you're down the motorway.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I used to like it when they had it on, was it GT5 maybe or GT6? They had it at Top Gear, at the Top Gear track, and you had to do it as part of the career, so you could improve your driving, and you had to win so many races at the Top Gear track, and that was the first one. But if you hit anybody, that was it. Your race was over. So it was quite a fun track to do. But here's a good question for you from Baz FBR CZ Ing 68. It's a very long name, that one.
Just Barry.
Yeah, but it might be easier. To Kireth and Rory, what were your nerves like before you started racing against these famous drivers, and were you determined to beat them?
For me, very nervous, because there's an added element to it. If the problem is when you do a bit of content creation, people get to know obviously who you are. Then it's sort of like a triple whammy. So you want to beat them anyway. The pressure's on because people kind of know who you are, and then 3, you've got to make a video about it afterwards. That's the one for me, is that even halfway through a race, if it goes wrong, I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to spin this into something that somebody is going to actually click on? Like today's race, for example, I've buried my head in the sand with it. I've got no idea how I'm going to make it into a video. I just know it's going to be painful when I do. But yeah, so very nervous for all those reasons, really. I think, and because for me personally, I'm obviously very passionate about it. And when I was growing up, I was always the best out of my little group of friends. But then, the world opened up with Gran Turismo Sport for me, because I didn't play it since GT3. I didn't play any Gran Turismo, so I was going through uni and all that sort of stuff. So the world has changed since then. So me being the big fish in the small pond has now gone to the tiny fish in the ginormous worldwide pond. So very nervous, very nervous.
Yeah. How about you, Kireth?
I don't think I do. I don't think I do get stressed out, but I don't think I have that kind of that edge of desire to beat everyone. Yeah, maybe that will come. But at the moment, I'm just happy to try and get faster myself, and I don't really feel the pressure in that way. Although I do always want to improve. So yeah, I don't think I feel the pressure in that way, and I don't always have that absolute burning desire to beat people. But that's where I am at the moment in both GT Sport and also karting. I'm trying to improve my base skills, and I will get to the point where. So when I go down to the kart track and I do like an open race, I absolutely want to win. And if there's a move that's half open on last lap, I will do it and try and get that win. Because I know I can and I should be winning those. But at the moment, GT Sport and in Club 100 karting, which I came back into last year after a few years out, I don't think I'm quite good enough yet. So I haven't got that pressure. I'm in a kind of a nice place, I think, where I don't have that pressure on me. And the whole stream and the community is very much about learning how to get faster. But I'm sure it will come. That pressure will come, as Rory said, both with the racing and also then making content out of it. But yeah, look forward to that. At the moment, I'm kind of in a little nice, like bubble. I'm still in the nest at the moment.
You're still kind of being relatively new to it still. You have that excuse that soon wears off. Saying, "Oh yeah, I haven't really done this." Now that I've been doing it for a little while, I have no excuse because I've done hundreds of thousands of laps around all these tracks. I know exactly what I should be doing. So maybe that's why my expectations gone up. I was relaxed, when I, but not so much anymore.
That's a very good point.
We've got some great questions coming up. There's some great answers, great honest answers that we've been getting, which is fantastic. Now, earlier on, Philip Hoxton, I think, asked a question about how do you keep motivated when you're maybe struggling in some of the races and it doesn't really go your way? How do you pick yourself back up so you can get motivated again and get back to performing at your best? I'll go to Kireth first.
Yeah.
I think the core motivation for me, for everything I do to do with my racing and to do with the channel, is to get faster and to kind of keep building the building blocks of getting faster, not just in one car and combination, but just as a better driver, both in simulators and GT Sport and karting. So if I have a bad race, it always feeds back into that motivation. So even today with FIA, I didn't have very good races, but we kept going. We got a little bit faster and faster every time, and I finished in a good place. So it's that motivation of just always wanting to get faster, and there's always people that are faster than me, and there's always people to aim for. That is without a doubt my key motivation, and it keeps the whole thing going, I think, in a healthy way. If I didn't have that, if I was motivated for other reasons, I think the whole thing would fall down at some point. But because I really want to explore just how fast can I be, how much can I learn, how much information can I take on board, and then be able to deploy it in a race. It's easy to think I should slow down more here and take more of that apex, but can I actually do it reliably? That challenge I always find exciting. So that's definitely my motivation. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. How about you, Rory?
For me, when things go wrong, I kind of try and share it with everybody. I try not to. I've kind of maybe on purpose, purposefully sort of pigeonholed my channel into saying it's okay to mess up. I try and be kind of as real as possible with everybody. I can't portray. I couldn't do, for example, if we did the FIAs, I wouldn't feel comfortable with doing all the FIAs and then cherry picking, the best one. I try and do one and done unless it goes terribly wrong, because, people in my, in a similar situation as me may not have time to do, 5. And I'm trying to kind of share my sim journey, sort of the good and the bad. So if I have a bad one, it's like, okay, no worries. I'm human. And as Kireth says, people are going to be quicker than me, and people are going to be slower than me. So you can't always think, oh, what's in front of you all the time. There's stacks and stacks of lobbies potentially that are, there's always going to be someone slower than you. Even if you come last in your race, there's probably going to be, unless you're E or whatever, or nothing or whatever it is you start out with. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's okay to make mistakes, and I've kind of conditioned myself to do that just through experience, really. And that's where the YouTube stuff comes in, is going through those experiences and people, the community saying, "Don't worry about it, Rory. It's fine. I did exactly the same. I'd be thrilled to be where how quick you are, etc." And those comments of the amazing community that we've got really do pick you up in those times of the dark times that we all have on Gran Turismo.
Yeah, fantastic. Now that's really good. Now we've got a great question here. Another one from Baz FBR CNE at G68. Sounds like a Wi-Fi code, that one. It says, what would be your dream car to drive on your favorite circuit and why? So if I can expand on that, perhaps maybe even a road car. If you have a favorite road car, perhaps, or a racing car that you would love to have it going on your favorite circuit, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. There's quite a lot of options.
I would say, imagine it was in real life, and you had a chance to go on an amazing driving day, choose the car you want, and you could any track you want, any car you want. What would it be?
I think I'd like to do pretty much the combination that I did on iRacing earlier. I would want to go to the Nordschleife, and I'd want to drive probably the Mercedes AMG GT Black series or something along those lines. Would be one of those cars that is one of the quickest ones around that you've heard, oh, this one's broken the record or that one's broken, one of those around that track. I also wouldn't want to be responsible for what I do to it. I don't think I'll get round there, but no, I just don't think there's no better place in the world for me or no greater challenge for me, I don't think, and nothing as special as the Nürburgring. So one of those cars at the Nürburgring for me.
That would be amazing. How about you, Kireth? What would be your choice?
It's a really difficult question. I agree on the Nürburgring. I've been lucky to drive it once, but in a very slow Suzuki Swift. And if we're talking kind of fantasy, we don't have to sign the insurance waiver form.
Exactly, it's paid for. Somebody else has paid for that.
Yeah, to drive something fast at Nürburgring would just be, nothing beats it. But I think probably otherwise it would, or maybe anyway, it would be a Formula car around a Formula circuit, Formula One circuit. Not sure which circuit. One with a lot of
year of Formula One car though, not the new one, surely. Not after watching Alonso at. It can't be one of the new ones.
I really like I think it's 2011, 2012.
Yeah, the V8s they're amazing.
Blown diffusers.
Yeah. They were pretty good, weren't they? And the V10s were incredible.
Yeah, the sound. to drive that would just be.
It'd be
Even if
amazing.
even if you weren't going fast, it would feel amazing, if that makes sense.
Well, you two could well be lined up for that, because that T-shirt that you were wearing there, Kireth, Renault for quite some time were taking YouTubers, all the kind of high-performing YouTubers at the time. People like Seeing Through Glass, Jimmy Broadbent, and I'm sure somebody else got to go. And they took them to Paul Ricard, and they got them to drive, I think, a slightly detuned Renault F1 car. It was the V8 car, and they got to go around Paul Ricard. And they did remarkably well, to be fair. I don't think any of them actually span off at all. I think they managed to keep going. But you never know. Would the two of you be interested if they called you up and said, would you like to come to Paul Ricard and have a go?
I'd say no, you're all right. No, yeah, certainly. I don't know if I'd fit in it though. I'm 6'5", so and growing fatter by the minute. So whether I'd actually get in one or not would be another question. But if they could shoehorn me in, absolutely.
Yeah. But wasn't it funny on a slight detour when I don't know if obviously you both saw the race there in Abu Dhabi, and when they were interviewing Hamilton at the time, and then of course Alonso went past with his V10 Renault, and he said, "My goodness, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? Well, we've got to get back to that." How on earth can we get back to that in Formula One? Because the V6s, honestly, they sound like a blooming Dyson Hoover compared to the V10. It's I know there's going to be engine changes, I think, in the next 3 or 4 years, but I do think it was a terrible mistake coming from V8s to V6s. They really should have checked, I think, beforehand.
Not sure they can go back. I mean, maybe we were saying, but like growing up, just the sound of Formula One cars on the TV, it's almost a part of it. Still resonates inside me still.
Oh yeah, you don't forget it when you see it live. It just goes through you.
But on the other hand, there's always progress and things always change. And
I mean, the newer cars are a wee bit noisier, to be fair. The last year or two, they've made them slightly better, and they revel a little bit higher than they were before. And you've gone from like 19,000 RPM in that Renault to 12,000. So it's a huge difference, and it just doesn't have the same sound. But potentially, I think it was one of the ex-Renault engineers who's now in charge of the Formula One engineering part side. Was it Pat Simmons? Or I think he was saying they might do 3-cylinder engines, and they'll sound more like a bike engine, because like the kind of Mazda rotary engines and these ones that they're quite high revving, and that could actually potentially bring back a bit more fun and a bit more noise. Because there's no doubt about it, you want that. That's part of the show, is to have the build up. And to hear the noise, so you need to wear headphones for a reason when you watch it.
It's probably the wrong day to ask me about Formula One after the media stuff that's come out about Mazepin. I'm not best impressed with Formula One at the moment. I think Formula One just generally, they're a bit confused as to what they want. So they've taken all that away because they want to, they want to move with the times, which is fine. But they want to be more efficient and all this sort of stuff. I do question how they get there, how they get their cars to Singapore and how they get them to Melbourne and all this sort of stuff. Do they get them on a plane powered by love and bubbles or something? Or I think they're just trying to do stuff in the wrong way. I just don't don't cut the product, make efficiencies elsewhere.
With engineering, with technology and so on. I think they are running on a bandwagon.
Yeah, because for me, they've taken the sound away. They've taken the racing away, so they've tried to, rather than fixing the problem, which is the fact that one car can't follow another. So they've made it artificial with just the DRS, which makes it absolutely ridiculous. So I just I'm a little bit lost with Formula One at the moment. I do prefer watching your Formula 2, your Formula 3. That I actually prefer watching that to Formula One. I mean, I know they've. F2, I think, still got the DRS in it, but they're just more like cars of old, F1 cars of old. These ones and the new ones
sound better. The new F2 sounds quite good actually. When you get onboard shots, it actually sounds like a proper engine, where it sounds a bit more meaty. I can certainly understand all that. I actually filled in the F1 survey that asked you what do you think of F1's goals to be sustainable. And I gave them a pretty honest view, and they didn't even allow me to save it because I made so many complaints. It bugged out, and they wouldn't allow me to save it. So they obviously didn't want to take on my ideas. But no, I think they're jumping on a bandwagon, and they might regret it later on because they're going to lose fans if they don't bring back the show of it. I think that's part
well,
of
they
the
will do
problem.
today. I think they lost a few fans today with this Mazepin thing. I don't
So
want to go
yes,
on
I
about it,
haven't heard. To be fair, I haven't heard. I thought he'd been fired. Has he not been
No,
fired?
so they've confirmed him. So Haas have come out with a statement that confirms that they're saying, just to confirm, Schumacher and Mazepin are our drivers for 2020, despite everything that Mazepin kid's done.
I think his dad basically owns the teams. That's another issue in Formula One.
Yeah. But don't put on there we race as one, but then go to Saudi Arabia and then keep this guy in a seat. You get nice rich kids. Lance Stroll's a nice rich kid. There's plenty of other nice rich kids that you could put in the car. But I really don't. I think they've definitely shown where their allegiance lies, and they were doing a good job. Liberty Media. I really did think they were doing a good job till this. I mean, look at the uproar that Hamilton got for wearing a T-shirt on the podium and how quickly they acted on that. But then they say, oh no, it's an internal matter. When this guy puts a Snapchat up or whatever of him doing what he did, it's just a bit confusing.
Well, we'll go back to the sim questions.
Yes,
now that we've had a little bit of F1 in there as well. Now, one of the Keith will own you has said, you should turn this into the old Top Gear. Have both guests complete a lap live and see who wins. Oh. That would be something. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
We are both by the rig, aren't we?
But you have got 10k driver rating more than me, Kireth. So you'd win, I think.
Before I started FIA today.
Okay. Well, same here. You're probably now 20 ahead. You're probably 20k ahead now.
There we go. Now here's a good one from Isa Rafiq. I hope I've pronounced that properly. How do you manage to reach the top lap times and keep yourself from losing interest when things go wrong?
Do you want to go first, Kireth?
Yeah, just trying to make sure I understand the question from Isa. It's the same thing. It's things go wrong in all aspects of life, and things will always go wrong. And it's the same in racing. You might do. I don't think anyone really does the perfect lap. Well, I don't know, Roy, if you've ever felt like you've done the absolute perfect lap, but usually you never reach your optimal in GT Sport, for example. There's always you're always making mistakes, and so that kind of drive to just minimize the mistakes and let next lap, if you went too deep into one corner, just try and brake a little bit earlier and whatnot. Just if you're in that groove, I don't think it doesn't get me down when I'm not driving that well. I just try and think, well, what can I try and do to improve? And I guess if it's really not going well, then just stop racing for the day. And normally, good night's sleep can try and just weirdly reset things. Next day you can be faster. But I'm trying to understand where the question is coming from, because it almost seems like
it was I suppose it was more like how do you manage to achieve as well the top lap times, or because you're both very, very quick out there, and when you do the time trial for your races. What's your kind of secret to getting these top times?
Well, I'll let Rory carry on, but it's that kind of like, I don't think we do it the first lap. It's that desire to just keep improving that lap time, and then we probably reach a point where we're like, yeah, I'm happy with that. But if we settled for second best, we wouldn't get there. And I think if we were too hard on ourselves, you'd be too tight. Or you kind of have to be in that nice zone. I find is often when you can get. So the lap time I did for Daily Race B this week, which is a decent lap time. We did it on stream in about 4 laps, very relaxed, just chatting. Every lap time just goes slightly lower down. And that's for me how I unlock the pace. But I don't try and put too much pressure when it's going wrong either way. But yeah, this week I got lucky. I don't know if maybe Roy has better insight than me.
For me, it's I've got I'm very structured in everything that I do. It's a bit of a curse, to be quite honest. But I've got essentially what I do is if they took away the top 10 times, I would be absolutely screwed. I would be appalling, because that is where I get, just like they look at, essentially it's in the same way that they look at data in Formula One. They look at how other people do things. What I will always do is I will go to the top 10 times. I will either pick a car that the car that I'm comfortable with, or if they're all using one car, I'll jump straight in that car. And then it's just about, where are they braking? And I will literally have a notepad open on my other screen, and I'll have like T1. So for Catalonia today, for example, T1, so turn 1, first black box, second gear, early change to third. That's what I have. And then what I'll do is I'll do that for every single corner. And then I'll just keep finessing it, really. And that's how I kind of do things. And I give myself a bit of an aim. If I can get within sort of if I'm being really quick, I can get within 1 second of the 10th best time. And then what I'll do is I'll put the 10th best time up on the Ghost, and then I'll go chase it. Because otherwise, if I'm sort of just circulating around by myself, I'll fall asleep. I think I can't do that by myself. But that's kind of how I do it. Really, is benchmark what the top guys are doing, and then naturally, if you practice that enough, come game time, and if you rep it enough in your practice laps, come the race, you don't have to think about it. Your muscle memory will be there, and 9 times out of 10, you'll just you'll deliver, really. Or if you'll go to 80% of them, which is 20% more than maybe your competitors. So that's how I get to the speed that I do.
Well, that's excellent. It's all good to know, because ultimately, I think for all of us sim drivers, and I'm sure many in the chat, they want to know how to go faster and what it is that gets there. Because I think, and everyone says, watch the videos, watch the people doing the quick laps and trying to follow them. But there's also, I mean, like, for me, I can't stand doing that. I don't know. I was terrible at school and was always not rebelling, but you know what? I'd always try and cheat. But it was like, copy the person next door, and he did worse than they did, But the numbers never quite stacked up. But I do find, I think there's a bit of me inside that kind of wants to learn myself how to go faster. And so some of that comes from practice, but I think if you do it too much, then you could just be putting in bad habits and then not go, you find that you hit a limit and you can't seem to go any faster. But you see that people are much faster. So at the same time, you have to be prepared to learn new things, isn't it? And look at how other people are doing it to be able to make that work. But no, they're good answers. Thank you very much for that. Now we're going to go.
One more thing on that, actually. So the guy who's driver 61, something Mansell.
He's
Scott
good.
Mansell.
He did a Zoom webinar to Motorsport UK, which I watched, and he had a really good way of putting it, which is that your limit is like an elastic band, and you kind of gently increase the periphery of your limit, and then you kind of solidify it and you kind of get into that gap. So when you're thinking about, have I reached my limit, sometimes you do need to just take a step back, go back in the game, just increase it slightly. And beginning of this year, I was a B driver on GT Sport, and that was my speed. And it's only by increasing slowly that I found that I've been able to get faster. It's not if I thought, okay, in 1 week I'm going to try and set an A+ time, there's no way I'd be able to do it. It'd be very frustrating. So, and I think the methodology that Rory said is it sounds like a very good way to do that. I should probably be doing that.
No, absolutely. Now we'll have a question from Sophie Eronwen, I think is the name there. Question for both: what made them decide to start streaming and content creating?
For me, it was I've always had an interest in. I've been quite entrepreneurial in a way. I don't like that word entrepreneur. But, I like to create things, and I like to sort of build stuff up for sort of myself. And I don't really know what happened, to be honest. It was when I was on my honeymoon, actually, and I was, and I think we discussed this before, Hugh, on a previous show. I was essentially around a pool in Bali, and I was just down a YouTube rabbit hole. Found, I think it was a Z28 video or something like that, and it just filled my recommendations, and I thought I'd give it a go, basically, because as I said before, I always was in when I was the big fish in a small pond around all my mates, I was the best at sim racing. So I naively thought, oh yeah, that's fine, I can just go into the big wide world. Gran Turismo's changed, and you can do all this online stuff now. I'll go and win at all of that, and I'll document my process, and it'll be great, and everyone will love me. So I thought I'd give that a go. I'm quite a big fan of tech and stuff as well, so it gives me a good excuse to buy lots of cameras and microphones and stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of by fluke, really, and I made my first video, and I've never really stopped. So that's how I got into it, anyway.
Fantastic. Now that's really, really good. And obviously you've been doing that for a number of years now, and you're up to just on 28,000, just about. So
almost. We don't know if we'll get there.
I'm sure you will. And to Kireth, the same question.
I think a similar kind of. I've always enjoyed being creative, and I've always enjoyed the process of having an idea and then trying to actually put it down onto paper or in some form that people can enjoy and or listen to or read or whatever. So I used to make music before, and actually had YouTube channels where I was making music that were decently popular. And the karting and the sim racing started when I got a 360-degree camera in 2019. And I thought, why does no one kart with a 360-degree camera? And now I know, because it's very difficult to do, and it always wants to fall off. But anyway, yeah. So that was my idea basically for this channel, was karting, 360-degree videos, and also what I do in my karting is I put icons over the karts. So in the video you can see, like in GT Sport, who's in what position, because otherwise you don't know what's going on if you are in the race. And yeah, that process of being creative, and I still enjoy creating music. And there's a lot of stuff you can do when you're streaming and creating videos, and try and finesse things and add stuff in and try stuff out and see whether people like it. So we do a lot of music on our stream, and hopefully people like it. If they don't,
I do like your intros. Your intros are really good. I heard the one and it actually had your name mentioned on it. It was sung out. It was great. It was like a kind of like a radio show as well, because it had like the kind of little twingles that they would do. When we're not quite to a commercial break, but that kind of thing as different parts of your stream. And I thought that was quite fun. It was obviously your technical side.
Maybe we'll do more of that. But that idea of like, why don't we just make a jingle?
The jingle was great. That's the word I was looking for.
And then it's difficult to make it, and you have the software and record and all this stuff, but then you create it, and there's maybe Rory feels the same way. You create your video, because I think Rory, in your last video you said that you had a video before that you were working on, it didn't feel right, and then you canned it. You did that process of like, when you finish something that you think is a good video and then uploading it, and hopefully some people enjoy it, is again for me it's the core of content creation. Mm-hmm. I hate the term content creation. There must be a better way of putting it, but just like being creative and actually seeing it through, I really enjoy. Something separate to even racing. This brings it all together.
Now I've got a great question from Gary Gilmore. Now he's a community favourite. He's been around for a long time watching sim racers, and he says, "What are you looking forward to from Gran Turismo 7?"
A release date would be quite nice. No, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. All the things that I wished Gran Turismo Sport probably had, to be honest. Like a greater variety of. I mean, let's put the penalty system to one side. Let's just not even go there. We've all spoken about that to death. Yeah. But I presume they're going to fix that or adopt some sort of system that works. There's plenty out there that do. But just a bit more variety, I think, or a bit more up to date with things that go on, and I think a variety in both tracks and sort of events. I'd love to see team events, team endurance events like they do on iRacing. I would settle for that, to be quite honest with you, because that's the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing I think that sort of limits consoles to PCs is that team element. There's just nobody that does it. So that's what I would like to see from Gran Turismo.
Yeah. And how about you, Kireth? What are you looking forward to?
Because
you've already got PS5, you're already halfway there, just waiting for the release date.
Yeah, I haven't played anything on it other than GT Sport, so probably should have sold it. I made a bit of money. Maybe that's not good. But yeah, I mean, I think the core of the game is great. I mean, there's always ABS on in GT Sport, basically, which for me is a big differentiator between other sims. But it does produce really close racing. So just keeping that as a core element, bigger grids. If we had like 40, 50 car grids, dynamic weather for me would tie in with the endurance. It would feel like an endurance. And being able to team up and hot swap seats and stuff like that, and do 6-hour events, and you're on the same team and you can spot. And I'm not sure it's going to go in that direction though, because I'm not sure it sounds like it's going to go more in the direction of old school GT with secondhand cars and have changed it all and everything like that. But I really like the the online competitive aspect, and I'd like that to become basically more like iRacing. I guess with the penalties, not the penalty system, with the SR system, they basically did take that off iRacing, so maybe they will go more in that direction. But from the trailer I saw, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the core of the game is produces fantastic racing. Just be to do more of it in different ways, I guess, with more people.
Now here's a good question for you. You can blame my co-host if you disagree. What is the CO2 output of a sim rig before and after a curry? You know. You don't have to answer that. You can fire my co-host for that one, but it's
it depends on the curry.
Yeah, not too bad. I just have a korma, so I'll be just fine.
Not great if you're in an enclosed room, that's for sure. But I'll get on to another question. There's
one there's one that I keep seeing popping up from a political mind, just to steer you in that direction. Bless him, because he's put it about 10 times. Do you want me to read it out? I've got it here.
Yes, fine. Yeah, if you've got it there. Yeah.
How do the guys use their secondary PSN accounts to protect their driver rating? Are there certain tracks and cars they use to protect their DR? I've asked it, Kireth, so you and Hugh can answer it.
Well, I had a second account for a bit on the PS4. I haven't loaded it up on the PS5. So since I've had the PS5, I haven't used a second account. I never really liked the idea of it. I think it's really helpful for creating content and racing from the back, but I want to get faster. It doesn't really make sense, except when the penalty system is very dangerous. So I would only really do daily race A on an alt account, actually, and I guess that's why I haven't done any recently. But yeah, I don't use it at the moment. I don't even know which one I had, but I haven't loaded it up on the PS5. But previously, it can be a way of protecting your. I think all of the top drivers, the really top drivers, do it to protect their accounts for FIA. So if you're in the real top, you kind of have to do it. But if you're not in the real top level, it's probably just taking away from you're probably not racing against as fast people you would otherwise on your main account, which is maybe a way of improving. If that makes sense, that's the way I look at it at the moment. But then I did get reset last week, so I'm paying.
Goodness, I don't think I've ever had a reset yet. But I do use, because I've got Fat Man in the Cheap Sim now as my main PSN, and then I've got my Crichton Starbug as my secondary one. And to be fair, that I'm at AS level on the Fat Man in the Cheap Sim, and I'm just on the borderline with the Crichton Starbug. So it really depends. If it's a really terrible week of races, I'll use the Crichton Starbug, because I thought, well, it's not quite so important if it goes down a bit.
Rory, it was that race at Blue Moon Bay. I was getting so many penalties, and I thought, surely I'm not going to get reset. And I only got reset to 40k, which is not as bad as it could have been, but I did.
You got reset on that one?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I've managed to avoid it, but yeah, for me with the alt account, I think sim racing has changed for me so much since I've been doing this YouTube thing. It's pretty much there's no real races that I do that people don't see. And I think the preparation, I mean, I don't do a great deal of prep, but the prep that I do, I can't just switch it on and go. But I can do if I've got an alt account. So that's why I have one as well, and also if I just destroy my driver rating by, not really preparing or whatever, when it comes around to record and all this sort of stuff, it's just worse content. And then that is for probably the right or wrong reasons, to be honest. That is the driver at the moment for me, is, I don't want to ruin the content that I do for everyone. So that's why I have an alt account, and the community picked the name. So I think Eerie Isn't is quite a good name. Brilliant. So I'm quite happy to run with that.
That was the thing. I remember when I first brought you on for the first show, I thought, how on earth do I pronounce this? Because I'd never been able to figure out how it was. So I had to watch some of your other videos just for the introductions. And then I remember trying to go through a video when you never pronounced your name, and then so I was trying to find out, how do I do this properly? And then when you told me how it's actually spelled, then it made sense, or how you pronounced it, and that was the way it was all done. But yeah, no, that's the thing. So it's we've got lots of good comments here in the chat. and many people agreeing that some have lots of multiple accounts. Really, it is to kind of protect your main account, isn't it? So that you don't kind of ruin the main ones that go along. And Adama Banana said that's why he made his secondary one Adama Pineapple. That's a good one. And so there we are. So alternative accounts for different regions, perhaps, which I know some people are now playing in American regions, aren't they? They're trying the different groups, not just Europe, but all over the world, to see how it all works out. So keep your questions running, and we'll be asking them all to Rory and to Kireth. Now, we've got one from Fat Furby, who was on from the Sim Carers, has come to join us. So, question for Kireth. Before showing your face on streams, did you get confused for Super GT? I had many people say you were Super GT in disguise. Lots of love, he says on there.
I still get confused with Super GT. I'm not sure how. I'm from a similar part of the world, and
you do sound absolutely identical.
Yeah,
People I sometimes sound like him, but you sound literally exactly the same. Yeah, say hello, viewers. Say that.
I don't know how it sounds. Hello, viewers.
There you go.
Right, I'm getting a podcast now. I'm going to just do a podcast, and no one will know the difference.
When you can't turn up.
Yeah, I'll get you in. That's it.
in a way. So yeah, a lot of people said it. A lot of people still say it, and it's funny. But in a way, it is nice that my pace and also, I guess, the content is. Some people are genuinely confused, or maybe are genuinely confused. Yeah, I still get it, and it's nice. And Steve came in the stream today, and we raced yesterday, and we raced together in Club 100. And yeah, it's kind of weird how it. Yeah, but Fat Furby, yes, people did, and somehow people still do.
Yeah.
Even though we literally are racing against each other, so I'm not sure how they think that's working. We got hands on each other.
That's quite funny. No, it is incredible how you're able to sound so similar with those kind of phrases. Now, here's a good question for Rory. How is he adapting to becoming a dad, and how has that impacted on your racing?
Oh, well, anyone who has kids knows that any time that you did have before having a kid is now gone. So, I didn't have sort of too much time anyway with work and this YouTube thing and trying to be good at GT Sport. Obviously, you got to be a husband at the same time. You can't just desert your wife or your partner and be in the doghouse all the time. It was absolutely, that's going back to your first question. What's the biggest highlight of the year? I probably should mention, the birth of my son was probably the biggest highlight. Not
the race win at Suzuka or Bath.
No, close second. Close second. It's a complete game changer. It makes you realize what is what's important in life and what isn't, and that's why I'm even more sort of picky with how much time I spend on stuff with YouTube and racing in general. Really, I mean that's why I always say about I try not to be too hard on myself. If I can get to within 1 second of the top 10 times, apart from the true aliens out there, people are spending a lot of time getting these laps done and getting these. There's definitely a correlation between time spent and how quick you are. It's just in sim racing. I think Dave Perel said it. He said the only limiter in a lot of sim racing isn't so much talent; it's more time. You've got the odd exceptions like Mick Hazal and Igor and all this lot, but generally though, the more time you have, there'll be a linear sort of graph that says the more time you spend, the better you are. So yeah, it's just it's a game changer. And you can put 2 and 2 together here, but I'm about to have half as much time as I did in a good few months. So it's about to get twice as bad. So you've got to keep yourself busy during lockdown, haven't you?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. But you'll find the second one might sleep a bit better, or if the first one sleeps well, the second one won't. Yeah. And then you get all the nice kind of little nuances in between as well.
And that's going to be the challenge. Is how I do it with 2. That is going to be the real challenge, I think.
Now, here's a good question. Hopefully, it's a good question. How do you find, because for people who are doing an awful lot of streaming and an awful lot of racing, does it make you quite tired? Do you find, and if you are tired when you do a race or you're coming before a big race, do you find that really affects your performance?
Does the streaming make us tired?
Or let's say you've had a very busy week and you're tired, but you've got to do your stream to kind of keep up the content and people are expecting it and so on. Do you find that if you're tired and you have to race, that makes quite a big difference to your performance?
It's a really interesting question, because it goes to Rory's thing about time, and when you condense the time, it's just, yeah. The way I look at it is when I don't have a lot of time, so I've got to jump on and just stream and do the race. Maybe it's just one shot FIA with not a lot of practice. It does take the pressure off, and whatever happens. And if I have a good result, it makes it sweeter. But it can be difficult, and that's the times I do actually get frustrated, when I feel like if I had an hour to practice, I might have done myself a bit more justice here. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I know Rory's done a lot of things with scheduling, and Rory's a lot more structured than I am, and trying to set aside time and everything and try and control it. I'm in a position where I don't really have a schedule. I don't need to at the moment. Maybe that will change. But it's probably the most difficult thing about being a part-time YouTuber, I would say.
And the problem is, all the time you want to be resting and chilling out is the time that you need to perform. That is the most difficult. So after you've had a long day at work, and when Freddie wakes me up, my son wakes me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The last thing I want to be doing, and that's why I stopped it, to be honest, would be, I don't want to switch on at 9 o'clock and do a stream because I'm knackered. I'm not the most charismatic person at the best of times. So when I'm knackered, I just don't think it puts on a very good show. And that's always been the hang up with me about professional guys. I don't know how they do it, because they almost do sort of like antisocial hours or whatever the thing is, because they're all working when everyone else is chilling, watching their content. So I reckon I could do it if I was just doing videos, because you could do the videos in like a 9 till 5 slot and release them at 7 o'clock or whatever. But being a full-time streamer, that's tough. That would be very, very tough.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, because I think that's
this year it's probably easier, but when things open up again, it's tough. Yeah, it will be tough.
And I think that's what's one of the big things, because when I've seen some of the streamers, and think, goodness me, they don't always look that healthy on screen. They're getting paler and paler, and you just think, actually, are they just doing
chat right now?
No, to be fair, they're not. My co-host, it looked like one of them's cooking a steak, and is talking in the chat about what garlic sauce you should be using. But so it's got nothing to do with that question. But I think there is a concern. I mean, obviously, Super GT took time off this year because he had gone, felt he'd done enough, or he needed to take a break. And I think that was a good decision, because if you get to that point, I think you really have to. But I do think that's maybe one of the, it's because it's such a new sport and it's grown so quickly, and there's a great enthusiasm about it. But there are going to be kind of downsides of any sport and anything in life, isn't it? There's going to be areas you need to watch out for, and I think maybe there's a little bit of concern that perhaps if people kind of go at it too much, and are tired, it's really going to strain them, and they could end up getting maybe other, I'm not saying major medical issues, but it could have an effect on them if they go at it too much. Do you think that might be the case? As it gets more and more professional, and the more and more people are trying to vie for the top results, do you think that might start affecting some drivers?
I think so. People who don't see it for what it is. I think when it becomes your profession and it pays your mortgage, it puts food on the table, when you release a video and it doesn't do very well, it's like, oh, no, that's not very good. I'll do better in the next one. But you've had your salary because you've worked all day and you're all good and you've got no worries there. I think the level of stress that would be compounded by having to, put food on the table for your family, keep a roof over your head. I couldn't imagine, the stresses that these guys go through to do that. I personally wouldn't consider it. I don't think I couldn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't. But people need control with stuff as well. Well, it's part time as well. People kind of kind of burn the candle at both ends a little bit as well. So they'll go and do their job, and then they'll do streaming afterwards. That's also quite a dangerous thing, and I think you've got to be really structured. Because I personally have had, burnout issues, and you just do from time to time. But with a streamer, with me, I could do a couple of videos, and then if I wanted 2 weeks off, I could do 2 videos, release one, I don't know, Saturday, and then schedule one for next Saturday. If you're a streamer, you cannot take any time off. You do not earn any money. You do not grow. People will potentially leave you and fill that void that you were filling with somebody else. So again, just the stress of that is, there's enough stresses in life without that added to it. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I think what's quite interesting is, especially for you, Rory, obviously your wife and family, and you've been able to balance that really well. And I think what's quite interesting is that I think even when I look at some of the sim drivers in the sim racing community, there's so much enthusiasm, and people are spending hours and hours on it, and the people are getting younger and younger, spending all that time. But I don't think it's particularly coercive if somebody wants to actually have a relationship, and have a girlfriend or potentially have a family, because I think it can get so competitive, and it all becomes about the winning, which is nice in a way. It's good to have a focus, but I think it's very important that we all are able to maintain good relationships and a social life out with all of this, because you need that balance. I think that's crucial. Would you agree, the both of you?
Definitely.
What do you think?
100%.
I think a lot of people watching possibly don't understand how much time it takes to stream and create videos. It's not as simple as you pop on for 3 hour stream and that's it. There's a lot of stuff to do, and a lot of stuff to think about, and a lot of stuff to keep on top of. And if you are trying to keep a regular schedule, those 3 hours add up. Those 3 hours of the time you're not spending with other people, and it's 3 hours you've got to be, fun and engaging, and that's the whole point of streaming. And it is difficult. I think this year has probably made it easier for a lot of people. It's made it easier for me in terms of commuting, and there's not stuff to do outside and things like that. My physical health has definitely suffered. I used to play football and rugby 3 times a week. Haven't done that this year. My mental health is probably quite good, because I enjoy the challenge of racing and everything, and I think it fuels my mind. Everyone's wired differently, and it's difficult. And I think, as Rory said, so I've no interest in going full time, as I've said before. I think for people that go full time, to kind of conflate something that you got into probably because you enjoy content creation, you enjoy racing, and turn it into something that, as Rory puts it quite brutally, needs to put food on the table. You have to do it through thick and thin. You cannot take a week off.
Yeah.
We can. We're in a much bigger position than me, obviously, but you can take a week off and it will hurt your channel. At the end of the day, it's you're still going to eat, and you can come back to it refreshed. You can kind of bounce off and have some new ideas. To go into the game, the YouTube game, unless you are right at the top, I'm not sure what the exit is. I mean, it's a bit of a black hole, actually.
Yeah. Always going for the next view, always going for the next sub. When do you complete YouTube? You don't. Unless you're
KSI. Yeah. I think
but then KSI is not PewDiePie, or KSI is not, Logan Paul or Jake Paul. There's all this sort of there's all this stuff going on.
But going back to what you said, I mean, I've seen people come onto YouTube and already burn out. Already their channels are stopped and stuff like that. Maybe didn't come in. Maybe their motivation wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. So, or the reality of what it takes to be here week in, week out. It's tough, and you need to. It might not be YouTube that suffers. It might not be YouTube that's the problem, which makes you pull out of it. It might be everything that supports you outside of the time that you're on YouTube. So if you sacrifice so much to do this YouTube thing, but then you've got nothing to sort of prop you up when YouTube doesn't go right, then you can find yourself in a very bad place, I think. But luckily for my situation, my career was here. My wife was here before YouTube, so that's on top of it. I think I do worry. I think what would happen if I twigged that I could do this when I was at uni? or some when I didn't have these commitments, when I didn't have, the let's just put it bluntly, the morals that I have now, I would just, and the guidance and all this that I have now, I think I could be, a candidate for that sort of thing where, it gets unhealthy. So I'm glad I found it after all the stuff like family and that. So
yeah. And that's the thing that I do think, because I'm about to move house in the next wee while, and we met the owners of the house that we bought, and I had to go and measure some of the rooms and things and try and find a room where my sim rig would go and fit it in. And so it was an older couple, and they said, "What on earth is a sim rig?" And I had the measuring tape there, and I was saying, "Oh yes, it's one of these things." And I had to basically come down to the fact that I'm a 45-year-old man playing games and people watch, and it was like, and when you've got someone who's in their kind of late 70s. Who kind of said, you're doing this to play games? And I could just tell the look in their eye was like I was some kind of waster, that hadn't grown up yet. But I think there's probably a bit of truth in some of that. But it is amazing. Sorry.
It's like, it's not all doom and gloom. I think it is also really engaging. It gives you a personal drive, and it is an outlet for your creativity. And there are communities and there's supportive places, and you deal with adversity. And especially in this year, where we haven't been doing stuff in the real world, kind of socializing, it's been great. It's probably been one of the best things, actually. It's not all negative, but I think I don't know. I can't think of a good analogy, but it's tempting. It's like Pandora's box. I think if you go too far, and you kind of think too much is going to happen, or you try and push it too fast, I think it could get quite messy for you, mentally, basically, if you set the goals too high and you never reach them.
Yeah.
And maybe, as Rory was saying, if you're a teenager, you're thinking, am I going to go to university, or am I going to be a full-time streamer? And, it could be dangerous. Maybe I don't know, maybe I should be doing more to kind of like tell people what I think I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong and stuff like that, because, I don't know. It's a great thing when it's going right. I'll worry about when it's not going right, what that means for you and what you feel like, hang on, what could I have done in those 2,000 hours this year or something?
Yeah. I think it's also such a new thing, isn't it? And it's wonderfully exciting. I mean, that's why we love to play the games, because they're so realistic and they give you that buzz, isn't there? And when you're not just getting a good result, but just trying a new game and seeing the new, what it offers you, and the kind of the graphics and the atmosphere, and it's great fun. Obviously, if you're streaming it too, and people are watching and enjoying it, it does give you a lot of motivation. In fact, I usually find that if I've had a really good night streaming, I can hardly sleep after it. It takes me about an hour and a half or more. I mean, there on Monday night, I was up to about 1 o'clock, and I'd finished it about 11 odd. I just could not calm down. As my brain's still thinking about the good races and the things that had happened, and it's a great sport. It's breaking a lot of the kind of age barriers, because obviously some people look at it and think, oh, you're playing games, what is that all about? And it is, and I suppose the people that are very successful and able to do it full time and make some good money out of it, it's fantastic. I think good on them. They've found themselves a marketplace and they're able to do it. But it's still obviously got a bit to go in trying to convince people to make it work.
Can I ask a question to Rory, Hugh?
Yeah, certainly. Of course.
What I'm very interested about, which is from Espen. He says, you as a YouTuber who suffer of bad internet connection at times, what does that do to your motivation of streaming and put out content to people like me?
That's a good question, Espen. I'm not most comfortable streaming anyway, as I share quite a lot. Because you have the likes of Super GT, you got Jimmy Broadbent, you've got all these really charismatic people, and that's not my kind of my kind of bag. So I'm on thin ice anyway with it. It kind of just blows it out of the water, to be honest, Espen. It's lovely to have the real time interaction with everyone, but when it goes wrong, you just think, oh, I've just done a terrible job, and that's going to stay on my channel, and some people are going to see that's going to be the first impression of my channel. But yeah, you're probably referring to, it even happened was it Sunday? I think it was last Sunday or Saturday, but that was just because I run out of data on my internet package. But that's a problem, you know. So that's come around because I can't get fiber at home. So I've got like a mobile broadband router thing, and essentially they're mega expensive. And I didn't have an unlimited plan. We got one now, but you know, we got through sort of like 100 gig in a month. And Erin's like, my wife's like, "How have you done that? Do you have lots of Zoom calls or whatever?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's obviously YouTube, darling. that's where it all goes." But yeah, no, it really does hit it. But you know, and then I just go back to my happy place of videos. You know, it's my safe place when I can script it. I can watch it back. I can make sure the message is right. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of doing videos right now and kind of limiting the streams. Because of that. So,
in fact, we just had a question that kind of goes on from that, from Espen. As a YouTuber who suffers a lot of bad in connection at times, what does that do to your motivation of streaming and put content?
I think your connection might be bad, Hugh. I think we just read that one.
All right. Well, that was the one you just. All right.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Murray Walker. It was like that. But yeah, oh no, that's the thing. Now we have got a question here. Let me just quickly check. There we are. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they only used about 3 gigabytes per month, and Keith only says he uses about 600 gigabytes per month. My goodness, that's the thing. Now Nelinsky has asked, which parts of the various sim games would you put together to make the ultimate game? E.g., the sound from Assetto Corsa.
I'd probably. Well, it depends what level you want to go to with this. We could go on with this one all night, probably. I think the interface, GT Sport, as in just the the menus and all that sort of stuff. Just for me personally, handling, probably iRacing. Not that I know that that's any good or not, because I've never driven a race car. Sounds, I agree. ACC. Variety of events, iRacing, I would say, would be the few bits for me.
Yeah. How about you, Kireth?
I think similar. It's like Frankenstein of a game.
Yeah.
Probably quite a lot of the skeleton from iRacing, including like the braking and the handling and the events and everything. Graphics from GT Sport.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And like lobby system and matching and FIA and all of that.
Yeah.
Probably take some stuff from F1 2020, which I've been really impressed by. It has a lot more depth than I thought. Definitely take the menu music, which is superb. Need to put it on the stream if it's not copyrighted.
I haven't played it. I haven't heard it.
It's the game is much more in depth than I thought. There's like so many systems and whatnot, and it's actually a bit overwhelming even from someone who does iRacing and things like that. So I was surprised. And yeah, from what I've heard, the sound in ACC is superb. So definitely have that. It's lacking. I wouldn't take anything from Forza 7 from what I've played. I don't really understand it. I really enjoyed Forza 4. Forza 4 was the racing game I played the most before GT Sport, probably. Forza 7, I really don't understand what's going on in that game.
I just don't understand the chase cam. This is a good point. I've been wanting to say this for years. Why, when you've got chase cam, does the car move like that? In the when it's if you're looking at you're looking over the car, why does it do that and that? That really gets me and has got me for years. I really don't like that.
It probably looks cooler in the trailers.
yeah, maybe.
No, that's the thing. This is a good one. Keith Baonia said they should take penalties from GT Sport and server issues from ACC. And that would bring you the next Project Cars game, I think. But it would be. I know, how could it get worse? But no, that's the thing. But it's. Have you ever tried? Because you do a bit of iRacing. The Skippy cars, because they look like a lot of fun. Have you never tried them?
I tried it once. So I prefer the F3 car to the Skippy. The Skippy doesn't have a lot of grip. It kind of slides around a lot, which is. I don't know if you feel the same way, but iRacing is really good with the time model compared to GT Sport and how alive the car feels. But the Skippy is just like, I know a lot of people rave about it.
I've never driven them, probably for the same reason. I'm not a great fan of Daily Race either. They're a bit slow, and I'm just a massive fan of GT cars. I think that's what I love. and that's what I'll use to sim race. So I'll have to give them a go. I've heard good things, but I will give them a go.
Well, that's the thing. And now Shirality has said Gran Turismo 7 should have changeable radio stations, just like racing in GTA 5. You know, because you can. That's it. You can change the radios, tell sorts of funny stories and great music. Perhaps they'll take that on in Gran Turismo 7.
Maybe.
Perhaps, you know.
Maybe they'll have a switch for that on the the Hurricane GT3. They'll just have the radio dial in the middle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe they'll do that for Formula 1 with the V6s.
People do this,
Yeah,
which I've never understood, which is like simulating traffic or something at Tokyo Expressway. And sometimes I drop in, I don't know how it works, but someone's a police car and people are traffic, and then one guy's a supercar and zooming around.
Yeah.
If people do it, they should probably incorporate it in the next game as an actual thing, if it is that in demand.
yeah, I've seen that in lobbies. Yeah, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about now. Very, very odd. There's other games that do that much better, like Grand Theft Auto, for example. Don't know why you take to and the lobbies that I see normally only have one person in it, so that could probably tell them that maybe this is going on elsewhere.
Yeah. So now is your chance for you two to ask each other a question. Is there something you would like to ask each other that they haven't already done so far?
I've thought about this one.
Cool, that's cool. You put us on the spot there. No, not really. Other than how, I guess, because I can't remember. I do remember bits of the struggle. I think trying to grow a YouTube channel when it was much smaller. But I guess I want to know, what are your struggles that you feel that you've got at the moment, just so that I can kind of refresh, and then maybe myself or anyone else in the chat can kind of relate to it. To be honest with you, because I like talking about this sort of stuff with others, because I don't talk to my mates about this sort of thing. So it's really, really good to talk to other creators about stuff. So I know it's supposed to be engaging with the audience and stuff, but I'd love to ask them what your biggest struggles are, or you feel your biggest struggles are right now with YouTube.
I always enjoyed making videos, and I enjoy making GT Sport videos, and again trying to incorporate stuff and have effects and things like that. And time is a big thing. It's a lot. It's actually, we talked about time before, but it's a lot quicker to stream than to make a video for me. And even with a stream, if there's a particularly good race, I can clip it. The biggest struggle for me right now is my internet, which is why I asked that question to you, because I'm meant to have 200 meg, and at 7 p.m, as we found out again today, I don't get any upload. So I was hotspotting the other day. So yes, last night I just sacked it in on I bought some new internet. But that it kills me because everything's set up, and I can't see the stream, I can't hear it, I can't see what it looks like on your screen. I just have a webcam here, and I'm playing the game, and I just hope that the bitrate is going up smoothly, and it's smooth for everyone. And then I look at the bitrate on the software, and it's like 500 kilobits. So that kills me at the moment. But I think more generally, it's just I'm in a bit of a honeymoon phase where I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I'm in these circumstances where I do have more time than I thought to be able to do this stuff because, of COVID and lockdown and everything. And I'm not stressing over numbers and whatnot. And if people enjoy the content, then hopefully they'll come back. But I think more than that, and it goes to the bitrate point, I want people to kind of think, oh yeah, that guy's okay at sim racing, and yeah, his content's okay. Even if they're not watching it or liking it or subscribing to it, I'd like to be kind of part of the community as someone who, I've heard of that guy, and he does sim racing and he plays this and that. Don't know if that resonates with you actually, but more than getting numbers and whatnot, because I'm not sure how much value I offer. I'm not sure I offer any value over Super GT, apart from being a fake. Hello, viewers. In terms of who you're going to watch, but I would like to kind of, earn my way in the community basically. That's what I would like to do, and then if people continue to like it, then I'm sure later in line people will subscribe, people will like, etc., etc. So that's kind of what I would like to do. So I don't want people to jump into my stream and it's a blocky mess and the audio is not working, or I'm not in a good mood or something like that. So I always want to do my best when I'm on stream making a video. And that's my hopefully answer the question about what I worry about the most. and what my struggles are.
Yeah, just get get the 4G EE mobile router thing. That sorted me right out. I think I had I had 2 meg and 0 upload just generally. I used to tether off my Wi-Fi, and I remember the chat used to say when my stream used to go choppy, they used to go, turn off your apps, because what I'd forget to turn my apps off on my iPhone, and I would basically hotspot it to my PlayStation at the time, because I had a PlayStation Cam, and they would even know that I had all my apps left open. And so, that's where I was at one stage. So I've been there. I feel your pain.
Do you know? I suppose if you get fiber optic, do you not get it hardwired into your computers and things so that to stop any problems like that?
Yeah, the frustrating thing is I drive past like a fiber box. I live in like a cul-de-sac. I drive past the fiber box with the big sticker on the side that says fibers here, but we're a new bit on the end, like the bit that was built like 5 years ago, and they did not. I can see the fiber stops 20 meters that way. Not ideal.
Yeah, because that makes a big difference, doesn't it? Now, I've been asked the question by James from Adventure Racing. Let me just quickly catch up with it. Here we are. Have we asked what your 2021 goals are, and also in terms of your channels as well? What would be your goal? First, I'll start off with you, Rory, for 2021.
My goal for 2021 is to still have a channel at the end of 2021, I think, because a couple of years, I've done this for a few years now, and to be honest, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth with chasing numbers, as I said it a few times on this show, chasing the next subscriber, chasing the next view, chasing the next like. It gets tiring, and what I want to do is just make sure that I still enjoy it. My life outside of sim racing, has completely changed in the last year, and it's going to change even more in this upcoming year. So if I can just stay consistent, stay enjoying my passion, and stay entertaining some people, then that's my goal, I think. Because if I lose control of that, and I give myself goals, and I give myself, I want to get X number of subscribers, X number of views, earn X amount of money. If I don't meet those goals, it might not be of value to me anymore, and I don't want that. So I think definitely get to the end of 2021, one video a week, keep smiling, I think are my goals.
No, definitely. And to you, Kireth, what's your goals for the channel, and how would you like to see it work?
Yeah, maybe similar kind of this time next year. I'd love to have a video up and be excited working on the next one, and it's playing a healthy part of my life. And if I'm doing that, then everything is in a good place. I literally don't look any further than that.
Yeah,
genuinely.
No, that's pretty good actually, isn't it? I think because you're both enjoying it and managing to find a good balance, which is really nice. It's a great example actually for people to follow that, because you're able to build in your communities, and people do like you. You're generally both liked, because you're fast, you're good at the game, and each of you offer a unique perspective on sim racing, and you've got good friends out there in the community. That's why we all come in and follow your live streams and your videos and put the likes and make the comments and things like that. So no, it's great to see how you both managed to do it all. I had a question that was in my head, and yes, they were. I've remembered it again. But and I'm not tired, I can promise you that. Obviously with hopefully COVID potentially releasing in the next week while and more events coming along, would you fancy kind of meeting up, or do you think there'll be more of the sim racing community meeting up, perhaps maybe at the Goodwood Festival of Speed or something like that, and then having maybe a big sim race in front of lots of your community, and you could all have a big event, and I think it would be an amazing thing.
I hope so. YouTube is an odd place, and there's some there's some strange mentalities out there that seem to think viewers only watch one content creator. So they're very, very sort of, the walls are up. They don't want to do anything that could potentially, expose your channel, which would mean everybody of their subscribers will go and follow your channel. So I would really like that if this could happen. I mean, I see it in other communities, like the big F1 creators all do stuff together, but it doesn't feel like the GT Sport creators do anything together. Correct? I don't know, Kireth, if you feel the same on this. but I don't see any of the, known content creators doing anything together. And I think that's really not sad, but it's disappointing because we all share the same passion. I'd love to bring everyone together and do that sort of thing, and do more collaborations, really. Yes, in a nutshell, I'd love to do it.
Yeah. Well, that seems like that's a good opportunity, isn't it, for 2021 to try and see if we can put some of you guys together at an event and see what we can do. And we could have some racing.
I think Rory's and James and Ollie's Mustang FIA is a great example of recognizing that we're all doing the same thing and collaborating that way. Everyone we all watch each other. We all, even Rory, James, Ollie, will watch us as well as creators, and we enjoy the racing. And so I agree. I think it would also be nice to meet up and not in a way that is solely about content creation.
Go for a beer or something would be quite nice.
People who are in the same boat, but we're kind of dotted around, the world actually, but doing similar things. It would be nice to, there are some things that you can't really talk to your mates about. They don't understand it, but you can talk to. They're making the same sacrifices and trying to do the same things, and that would be cool. But I wanted to shout out what Rory and James and Ollie are doing with the Mustang stuff, because I haven't seen a lot of that, and I think it's very cool. And it's racing is competitive, but it doesn't have an edge to it. It's just it's friendly fun. I thought that's very cool.
Yeah, one thing that is quite good actually. So on in January, there's the first 24-hour iRacing event. So myself, Charlie Roscoe, I don't know if you guys know Charlie, he's an Australian guy who does GT Sport stuff, Adventure Racing and Basic Ollie. We're all teaming up to do the 24 hours of Daytona on iRacing. Right. So that's really big for me, because that is the first thing that I've done with other content creators, other independent content creators. And I'm so excited by it, just to bring it. And I'm so excited to bring so many of the people who enjoy GT Sport to expose them to iRacing, because I think it's such a great, game or sim or whatever you call it, or whatever people want to call it. And again, it's just another, sort of breaking down the barriers of collaboration that doesn't seem to be there in Gran Turismo.
Yeah. Well, you've been invited to a night out in Boston, 2021. Lads and lasses from Adventure Racing has said you can do it in Boston if you're ever allowed to travel out there ever again. I'm sure that would be a thing. But I certainly think, because when you go to events like Goodwood, there's more and more sim racing events there, and I could see that really taking off and putting on a big sim race event there, or Silverstone. And perhaps maybe this is what my show could help with, in terms of getting everybody together and trying to do an event, and we could have you all standing on the grid at Silverstone or something like that. And then you could go into one of the buildings and do a big sim race and invite all the communities along who are able to make it and stream it out live and see what could happen. I think it would be great just to put everybody together, because there are a lot of people out there across the globe, across Europe, who have done incredibly well. And it's I think you guys have really helped to take the lead in sim racing, and a lot of the Brits have done extremely well. And obviously folk from Europe and America too. But you're at the forefront, because you've really been the first lot to be out there and to put your channels and make them work and compete properly in Gran Turismo. So you deserve a lot of credit for that, because you're setting the example, and you've each got, as I say, unique credentials, and people watch you for different reasons. And I think we do. I'll agree. We watch everybody's videos to some extent, because we watch on different days and different times. And it's great fun being able to see you kind of race and your reactions and how you keep going. And you do encourage a lot of us, and you help a lot of us, even though we're maybe lurking there in the chat and lurking there in the gaming. We are trying to learn as we go. And I think I probably speak for quite a few people that to say that we're very big fans, and it's absolutely fantastic to see you do well. And I really hope that 2021 is a great year for you both, and to the whole sim racing community, because it's exciting, it's great fun, and it motivates us, and it helps us enjoy the games even more as we continue to play them. In fact, now James is saying there are a couple of cool Americans coming through in the GTS space as well. It's good to see that he's mentioned PX Cam 20 Racing and Tyrannosaurus Rex on Twitch and they are very good. Have you been following them at all?
PX Cam stuff. I haven't seen the other guy.
I've seen PX Cam a couple of his videos, but I think the other guys on Twitch, James is saying, and it's strange, that there's no real community on Twitch with Gran Turismo Sport that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very strange that everything's YouTube centric, but then if you look at iRacing, it's all Twitch, apart from Jimmy, obviously. The rest of it is all Twitch. It's strange how different communities congregate in different streaming spaces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, it's been amazing. We've been going for over an hour and a half. I've dragged every inch of time I can get out of you, but I hope you've all enjoyed it. But there's one thing that just come in the last wee second here, once again from Baz. It's not a question, but a thank you to certain YouTubers who take up their time so we can learn from each and every one of them, and he would like to thank them. And I think that is the message that's really coming from the vast majority of your communities. They are very impressed, and they do thank you for making such great content and keeping us all motivated, whether it be in breaks during our work, even when our bosses don't even know we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, "What's that in the background?" But no, you do a fantastic job in doing all of that. And of course, so from everyone here at the Car Sim and Race Driver show, which is basically me and my co-hosts are in the chat, it's been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much for coming on board and for being such great stars on the show. You're welcome back anytime. And for all of you who are watching, we have got a great start to next year, because on the 7th of January, we have Chaz Draycott, who is a sim racing commentator and motorsport enthusiast, and has done lots of very, very big races in sim racing and more. So he'll be on the 7th at 9 o'clock, which will be one to get to make sure you don't miss. And we've got another female sim racer. On the 14th of January, we've got Quick Gabby, who is from the Czech Republic. But she does sim racing on iRacing. She's very good on iRacing. And she's also a real racing driver too. She's won karting championships, and also she races, I think it's in Group 3. So that's going to be a fantastic guest to have on the 14th of January. But to everybody watching, thank you very, very much for joining us I know you've been watching from all over the globe. If you can, hit that subscribe button and give us a like, that would be amazing. But all the thanks and all the glory that we're giving tonight to our two brilliant guests, to Rory, there at the top of the screen, and to Kireth, there on the bottom right. We didn't have to ring the bells. You've both done a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Hugh, and thank you to everyone. I know a couple of people said thanks for us creating the content. Thank you guys for clicking on it and watching it and liking it and subscribing. You are the reason that we keep doing it. So thank you guys, and Merry Christmas, everyone, as well. It's been a pretty crap year for us all. So Merry Christmas. Enjoy it with your families, and let's hope for a better 2021.
Fantastic. And a big Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thanks to everyone. We'll end the show on that note. But remember our motto: drive fast and try not to crash, and you'll win the race at the first corner. Bye just now.
See ya.